Hi, welcome to MyJoogTV. Over at Wine Compass, we regularly remind our readers that there are wineries in every state, and in fact, most metropolitan areas have wineries within short driving distances. Which brings us today to Maryland. Actually, behind me is Sugarloaf Mountain Winery, which is probably the closest winery to Washington D.C. In fact, it's so convenient that our friends Dangermuffin have taken a little detour from their trip to Baltimore tonight to join us today. So stick tight. We're going to find out what type of wines they're making here and find out what Dangermuffin's up to for 2012.
What if we were on the shores of the sea and tranquility? Let's drink and lose the clothes. I'll hope you win the green. Run when we find it, who knows? Just Moonscapes, oceans, and no clothes. I'm brought back to a time when folks were born.
We've had our tour of the winery today, and so I'm joined today by Mike McCary, who's one of the co-owners here at Sugarloaf Mountain, and as I mentioned before, Dangermuffin. So we got Dan, we have Stephen, and we have Mike. And so the first thing I want to start out with, when I heard you guys were going to be in the area, I wanted to invite you to the show. I said you got a choice, a winery and brewery, and right away I heard a winery. So you guys have an interest in wine? I mean, why did you want to choose a winery?
Well, I think just the idea of the vineyard and being, so close to the earth and Gaia and all that, kind of, at least for me, that's more of an appeal, than not that I have anything against beer or anything like that, but always interested to learn more about wine. I personally don't know that much about it, so but I like to drink it. I know that much.
So you guys are regular drinkers of wine?
Sure. Yeah. Definitely don't know as much as I'd like, which is another reason why I'm excited to be here. Just getting a chance to learn a little bit more about the behind the scenes and.
Right. And that was we had a really nice tour today out into the vineyard and into we're in the fermenting tank room now, and then right on the other side of the store is the barrel room. And so Mike, I'll bring you in this here. It was so convenient for us to get here. You're so close to Washington. So give us a little bit of background about the winery and what type of wines you produce.
Sure. I think, Todd, we're probably the closest winery to downtown Washington, D.C. We started in 2000. The dream came in 2002, but we started planning in 2004. We have the 5 Bordeaux red grapes, Cabernet Franc, which I had never heard of before, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Malbec, and Petite Verdot. And then we have 2 white Chardonnay and Pinot Gris, and we're planting Viognier this year, so that'll give us 3 whites. We have over 30,000 vines, and we believe in nature, as Dan was saying, and the earth, and not to mistreat nature, not to mistreat the earth. So we get down on our hands and knees and get our fingernails dirty, and try to be as environmentally friendly as we possibly can in everything we do. And it's just a joy to see the season start. And I always think of the season starting at pruning. And as we went out in the vineyard today, you could see that we're just about finishing up our pruning. And to me, that's when life begins. And now we're waiting for those little buds to pop.
Which is going to be early this year. We're a little bit warmer than last.
Exactly. We think it'll be about 10 days early. And then Mother Nature just does her thing, and the vines do their thing, and off they go. And then we hopefully harvest we'll probably harvest in mid-August this year through September and maybe a little bit into October.
Mm-hmm. So you were talking about some of the consultants that you had, like Lucie Morton, come through, who, being a relatively new winery, you've been able to leverage a lot of experience on the East Coast. Absolutely,
and we're so pleased. Lucie Morton has just been a godsend. She's our viticulturist, and she comes here regularly. We talk to her regularly, and she gives us such good guidance. And there are a lot of books and magazines and journals that talk about this and that, and I read them, but I say, wait a second, we've got Lucie. I mean, she knows the answers to these things. We also have a good friend of Lucie's, one Lucien Goulinet. And Lucien is in Bordeaux, and he has 2 vineyards, a 3rd growth and a 4th growth vineyard in Bordeaux. So he's very, very knowledgeable. For those who the audience who may not know what growths mean, or the first growth, there are about 5 or 6 of them, has nothing to do with how early they ripen. It's just how costly the wine is and how highly regarded it is. Then second growths are maybe, 20 or so of those. So a third growth, if he's a third growth, he's one of the top 50 winemakers in Bordeaux. And he comes here twice a year, spends a night with us or 2, and a couple other vineyards, a couple in Virginia, a couple in Maryland. And he's been terrific. And then we have Benoit Pinot, who's our winemaker.
Great last name.
And Ben is from France, educated in Bordeaux and Toulouse, and he just is so knowledgeable. So those 3, we feel we've got a full package.
Now, I mentioned earlier that in the introduction that there's wineries in every state, and you guys are from South Carolina, which there are quite a few wineries in there. Have you visited any?
We have one nearby. It's on Wadmalaw. Just past, the only tea plantation in the country is on Wadmalaw Island, and there's also a winery out there. I went there a few years back. I think I like your wine better than mine.
Well, with that geography, it's muscadines. It's probably the great choice, which is definitely different. So what are we drinking right now?
This is our Chardonnay of, I believe it's 2010 Chardonnay, and we don't oak this in new oak. We keep it either in 5 or 6 year old oak barrels or in tanks. As I said offside, I kind of like the oaky, buttery Chardonnay, but I'm overruled by our consultants and my co-owners. So this is very, it's crisp, cool, light. It's got fruit in it, acid. You can get the acids in there. I think it's very, very refreshing and very drinkable.
Good summer.
Very delicious.
Yeah. And this is an everyday, for me, an every month wine, every season. And this is just an enjoyable wine. So guys, we want to drink up because we've got another one.
Sure.
But what I want to talk about also is this morning I revisited your last CD. I put it on the way on the drive out here, and heard some songs last night in your show, and just really neat CD. But the title and the story behind Moonscape, the title of it. So relate that to us.
Sure. Well, our last record we did in 2010 is called Moonscapes, and we live right on the ocean in a little place called Folly Beach in South Carolina, and obviously the ocean and all the vibes out there really get into the music. It's kind of unavoidable, and a lot of the songs came from there. And Moonscapes in particular, we have a lot of tidal fluctuation on the coast down there, so the tide will go way out and the sand is compacted and it's almost crater-like. So, in the middle of the night, if you happen to be out on the beach and with the dogs running around or whatever, and there's craters, you can kind of fool yourself that you're, on the moon maybe, see a tranquility. So that's kind of where the idea is, for that record, and that permeates to that record kind of came from.
Yeah, it's a great CD. I love listening to it every time.
Thank you.
And I can, just hearing that story, just every time I listen to it, it brings me back, because there's beaches there, from the Outer Banks all the way down to, Savannah, just beautiful hard sand, long beaches, and you can just picture that.
Yeah.
Sort of can see the solitude, really neat places to go hang out and, get your songwriting mentality in.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's unavoidable, at least there, it just gets in all the music, and a lot of the songs on that record, Seafoam Tumbles, there's a lot of it comes from walking my dogs on the beach, and it'd be a really windy, wintry day, and it's just you and the ocean, and there'd be all these huge pieces of sea foam. There'd be a big storm or something would come through, and the craziest thing happens because the wind will literally roll them down the beach, and they disappear. So it's like it picks them up, and they roll, and then they're gone. And it's like, well, there's definitely a metaphor in that,
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next one.
Okay.
And we have these. Don't feel like you have to chug if you want.
Oh, I'm drinking this.
And then what we'll do is,
Cakes.
We can probably just go ahead. It's like we would do at a tasting room.
you want to clear your glasses or not?
Nah, we can just go ahead
Okay.
and pour it.
Whatever you think.
Okay, this is the Evo, and I'll tell you, Todd, you'll want me to talk a little bit about this in a minute.
Yeah, you can explain why you're pouring.
Okay, this is a blend, the red blend of our 5 Bordeaux grapes. as I said, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Malbec, and Petite Verdot. Gang?
Oh yeah.
And this one is predominantly Merlot. In fact, we on the label will say exactly, yeah, here it is. It's 70% Merlot, which typically we don't. Typically we have probably mostly Cabernet Sauvignon, but the Merlot likes it here. We're able to grow some nice Merlot, so this is we're trying something different and putting more Merlot. And it's 14% Malbec. Malbec's an interesting grape. You get to learn all these things you're out there, but the Malbec grape's about yay size. I mean, it's a big grape, and we've learned what happens in. I tend to ramble, so Todd, you can edit all this.
Go ahead.
But what happens is there's a thing called veraison. Veraison is when the grapes turn from green to the color they're going to be. You start veraison. That here, it starts about the first week of August. You also can tell veraison starting because you see deer come in with bibs on. So
the grapes are no longer bitter.
But what happens is you want soft skins. Well, this Malbec, it has such soft skins that if we don't, I was telling the fellows how we arrange all our shoots. We've got to do all our arranging, and we'll drop fruit if we have too much fruit. We have to do that all when the Malbec's very green, because once it hits veraison, it'll pop in your hands. Its skins are so soft. They're big berries and they're full of juice, but they're very tender. So that's the second thing, and that does well here. Petite Verdot, which is really it gives it the dark color, inky, and then Cabernet Franc. So we have no Cabernet Sauvignon in this one, and Cabernet Franc. We only have 8% Cabernet Franc because Cabernet Franc, our customers love our Cabernet Franc, so we have to husband that and make a separate Cabernet Franc. Otherwise,
single varietal.
Yes, and we're thinking about, we planted another acre of Merlot, so we think we'll do a separate Merlot again soon.
You know, I was talking earlier how, you know, with you being just across the river from Loudoun County, and a lot of the grapes we talked about, the Malbec, the Petite Verdot, Cabernet Franc, do well in Loudoun. One thing you don't see is Merlot doing well in Northern Virginia, which, you know, you were talking about the soils being a little different here, so, you know, that could be a result.
I think so. And then Lucie Morton told us, she said Merlot likes wet feet. So you put Merlot into sort of the lower areas. I wouldn't have known that at all, but that's where it is, and it thrives here. The toughest one for us to grow is Cabernet Sauvignon, and that's what we have the most of because I like it. But the problem is, it's the last to ripen. And so you're hanging out there in October, sometimes even November. Well, think of a tomato. Tomatoes are great August and September, but boy, you're starting to get to October, they're going to get iffy. No, it's the same. So it's a tough grape to grow, but we're staying with it, and Lucie's really helping us, and we think the last couple of crops have really been nice.
This is really nice, really smooth. I mean, just easy finish.
This is.
And see, this is another one that, you know, we're talking about reds in winter, you know, whites in summer, but this is one that I think in summertime would just be an easy drink.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is. It's got some fig in it.
It's vanilla.
Get some vanilla? Yeah. That's typically, that's right. Our winemakers, one of their signatures are the smoothness at the end. It's that vanilla flavor at the end.
So I learned last night at the show that you guys have been in the studio and you've been recording. So you have a new CD coming out. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
We do. Anybody else want to talk about it?
Well, you know, it's the first CD we've done since Moonscapes 2010. So, you know, it's been a couple years.
Overdue.
We're pretty excited about it, you know, and we've done a lot of touring the last few years, you know, which certainly has let the band kind of grow into a whole unique sound, you know, at least we think so, you know, and so, you know, a lot of the songs are a little bit of a fresh perspective, you know, from the stuff on Moonscapes, you know. It's still like a wide variety of I guess influences, you know, and some of the the beats and the interpretations and stuff that we put into it is not necessarily what you're going to hear from any, most other bands. You know what I mean? It's kind of odd in some ways, but we like it. So we're pretty excited about it.
I remember one of the songs from last night was a little funkier than I think I've heard you guys.
Yeah,
And, So do you have a date or time frame?
I think we're looking at sometime in May, just when the season really
So
starts to
soon,
get going. Yeah, we just finished recording. I was telling Mike that we did it locally just outside of Charleston. Moonscapes was recorded in Nashville, and this one we decided to do locally, balancing it with our busy touring schedule, 16-hour days in the studio, But we found a great room there that just opened, great engineer who comes from a great lineage. And it's definitely the best thing we've ever done. I mean, it's so professional, and we're very, very excited about the prospects of where it may take us. Yeah.
That's nice. So we'll make sure we post that online whenever they get an official release date. And so before last night, I've just seen you at festivals. You have any other festivals you're playing at this summer?
Yeah, we're doing Wakarusa in May, which is in the Ozarks in Arkansas.
Which has a great lineup.
Oh yeah, we're very excited about that. Strange Creek is another one in Massachusetts, which is more of a mid-level. We're kind of at the end of our album cycle. Like you said, we're a little overdue for a new record. So a lot of the festivals that we did last year, we're going to pass on this year. Floyd Fest being one of them, which we had a great time at. We did All Good last year, which is also regional in West Virginia, Masontown. Mountain Jam in New York. We did Wani last year. So that was kind of still supporting that record. And now that we have another one, maybe next year we'll get more involved. We'll just keep doing what we do,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, I can't wait to hear it. And so, Mike, thank you very much for having us here.
Yes,
Guys,
thank you, Mike. Cheers, Todd. Thank you so much.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, Mike. Thank you.
And Mike, and so we'll see you next time. And stay tuned for a song that we recorded last night at Jam and Java. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, thank you.
Oh, you recorded
Thank you,
last
Todd.
night?
Beach, South Carolina.